Okay, I think we're going to get things underway. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this International Women's Day event for 2023, First Nations Women Yarn. I'm Marianne Hendren, CEO of Women's Health Grampians. Before we get started, I just want to mention a few housekeeping things, the usual. Please check your phones are on silent. And as far as toilets are concerned, there is a sign here for a toilet, but it's best not to use that one. So if you do need to go, out through the doors and upstairs is the best option. And if anybody requires more accessibility or stairs are an issue, I'm afraid you'll have to cross the road and go over to Alfred Deakin Square up the ramp to the toilets up there. Apologies for that. So before I say anything further, I would like to introduce to you Rachel Muir, who's going to do an acknowledgement of country. Rachel is a proud Yorta Yorta woman and an active advocate and grassroots activist for Aboriginal women affected by sex offenders and family violence. Rachel fights for the women who don't have a voice. Rachel has been an activist for many years and continues to fight the oppressive systems. Thank you, Rachel.
Good morning, my name is Rachel Muir. I'm a proud Yorta Yorta woman, born and raised on Wadawurrung Land. I stand here today on the lands of the Wadawurrung people and pay my respects to the original custodians of these lands that we live, work and play. And I pay my respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. I pay my respects to their elders past who fought through diversity and hardships of murder, rape and attempted annihilation of our clans for me and my family to be here today. As I said, my name's Rachel Muir and I'm the daughter of a staunch, truth-telling Aboriginal woman. I'm a wife, I'm a mother of 2 beautiful children. However, these titles do not define me. I'm privileged. Yes, I say I'm privileged to be born and raised into a culture that respects and values the role of women. We are equal to men and all living things. First Nations women are healers, storytellers, keepers. We're the keepers of our kids. And that's where our kids belong, with our mothers. We're truth seekers who pass on important teachings to the next generations. Aboriginal people have a strong spiritual connection to the lands and the waters, and we will continue to remind you that this land was taken without consent, treaty or compensation, and the violence and suffering inflicted on our people is cause for sorrow and shame. I'd like to also say welcome to all people of all ages, abilities, genders, gender identities and sexual orientations. We are all free to be ourselves without fear or hurt, intimidation, sexism or ageism, discrimination or racism. I'd like you all to invite you all to get to know your neighbours. Educate yourself about the true Australian history. And be productive community members. As the true history of Australia started out as Aboriginal women being sold into slavery. Their owners were known to violently assault, starve, torture and inflict serious harm on them, murder their babies and murder them. Sadly, this was from the white women. However, we know that white males raped them as well. Aboriginal women traded as currency to pay off debts for whatever white society wanted them to do. In the beginning, white women were jealous of how strong and resilient Aboriginal women were, but white women would remain silent because if the males were doing this to the Aboriginal women, it would take the focus off them. If they weren't murdered, majority of rapes resulted in babies. Once the owners' wives found out, they would either kill the women, their babies, or both. If by chance they survived, they would be forced to leave. Due to the mental torture that was forced on the Aboriginal women, they believed they could not go back to their families, or they were told their families were dead, which could have been true. So also I was going to get you all to imagine being an Aboriginal woman. Aboriginal women were stolen and forced onto missions. So imagine growing up without your mum, growing up with your mum, learning and playing happily. But every time you heard a black car drive up the dirt track, you'd have to run and hide. You could spend hours, even days, hiding in a safe place until it was safe to return home. But imagine not returning home to your mum. Imagine being taken away, not knowing where you were going and what was going to happen to you. When you arrived at the location, you were nearly drowned with freezing cold water, forcibly rubbed with strange substances, then given clothes, lined up, and given a name depending on the position you aligned. Example, A, you're given Anne, Annabelle. B, Beverly, Barbara, and repeat for the whole alphabet until they're repeated again. And you were told not to speak your language. So being abused sexually, physically, emotionally, mentally, or starved half to death because you didn't know what you were eating and not being allowed to speak your own language. But still, Aboriginal women to this day, we're resilient, we fight on, and we're just too deadly. No. Also, imagine when you were aged 11. My mother was aged 11 when she was not classed as fauna and flora. She was classed as a citizen of the country. So I would also like you guys to think about Aboriginal women when new movements get behind, you get behind new movements such as the Me Too movements. But we never had a Me Too movement. We should have had Me Too movements years ago. So I'd like you all to think about Aboriginal women. We as Aboriginal women are not all the same. Not everyone has been broken, not everyone has been healed, not everyone wants to forgive, not everyone needs to forgive. But with our culture continuing strong, we won't allow our past to be forgotten. While we are here, can we please show each other respect and kindness? Today, we don't mean to offend anyone, but if we do, let us know. We will mostly speak about First Nations or Aboriginal women. These terms also include Torres Strait Islander women as well. We will probably use the word white, because that's the way we do. So, yeah. And we have the panellists that will be giving answers as themselves, not representing Aboriginal women as a whole. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that powerful and really moving acknowledgement and introduction, Rachel. Much appreciated. I'd also like to acknowledge that we're on the lands of the Wadawurrung people and honour and pay my respects to elders past and present, and recognise that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have the oldest continuous living culture in the world. Sovereignty was never, ever ceded. I guess just picking up, and I'm keen not to take up too much airtime on this stage because this stage belongs to First Nations women today, but I did just want to say a few words about our organisation and what was behind this. International Women's Day is a big day in our calendar annually to celebrate women's achievements and reflect on progress made and call for change and advocate for gender equality. In thinking about this, I'm very mindful of my privilege, and Rachel, as you really highlighted so well, the role that I play as a coloniser and a beneficiary of this land. As a migrant who came here from Ireland over 30 years ago, I've enjoyed and still do enjoy huge benefits from this country as a white, English-speaking, educated, middle-class woman. And that, for me, must be acknowledged and never forgotten. My feminism and worldview was very much influenced by growing up in an environment of conflict in Northern Ireland, which also was impacted in a different way by colonisation. And in thinking about women who inspired me, one of my heroes as a teenager was a civil rights campaigner called Bernadette Devlin. And a quote of hers comes to mind when I think about what motivates me and probably many others to seek in the seeking equity, and that is, we were born into an unjust system. We're not prepared to grow old in it. And I think that can apply in many contexts. Women's Health Grampians accepts that the struggle for gender equality has excluded First Nations women, and we are committed to learning and reflecting on our own privilege in order to work in genuine partnership. We recognise the strength and courage of First Nations women and girls who speak up bravely against oppression and the consequences of colonisation, and so generously share their wisdom on family, country and culture. We have, sorry, I'm just going to skip through a couple of things that I was going to say because I'm conscious of time. I guess what I wanted to highlight was last year we set out to really strengthen our work in this space. We welcomed two fantastic First Nations women to our board, Sarah Jane Hall, who has kindly joined us today, and April Clark, and they enrich our work and hold us to account. It was also our great pleasure and privilege to welcome two First Nations women to our staff. Sissy Austin is our First Nations Strategic Advisor for Health Equality. She is a Gunditjmara, Wadawurrung woman and a community advocate for grassroots change. Lyndel Ward is our First Nations Health Promotion Officer. She's a Gamilaraay woman. She's strongly committed to working with and advocating for First Nations women to break down the barriers that exist to perpetuate the ongoing effects of colonisation. As most of you know, Sissy was assaulted nearly 4 weeks ago. She's healing and recovering, and her imprint is all over this event today. Sissy has been an integral part of the design of this event, and I want to acknowledge the work that she's put into it despite what she's been facing over the past weeks. She's left her indelible mark on this event and was committed to seeing it happen. Of course, it was a team effort, and I also want to thank Lyndel Ward so much for this and for her connection with Sissy over this time, and also the rest of the International Women's Day Working Group for their efforts in bringing this together. So it's now my pleasure to introduce the panel. Our panel moderators are Lyndel, who I've just introduced, and Rachel Muir, and they'll put questions to the panelists. There may be time, hopefully, for audience questions. That depends a wee bit on time because we have a beautiful musician with us as well who we want to hear from before lunch. So now introducing our panelists. Next to Lyndel is Nikki Foy, who many of you will know. I'm sure many of you know all these women, but Nikki is a proud Gunditjmara Wotjobaluk woman and a lifelong activist and advocate. She's currently the Executive Manager of Social and Emotional Wellbeing at VATCHO. And finally, Nikki Bell is a proud Gunditjmara Wotjobaluk and Ngarrindjeri woman who lives in Wadawurrung country. She works as a Youth Engagement Officer at BADAC, the Ballarat and District Aboriginal Co-op. And that's me done. I'm going to step off the stage and hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Meriam. I'm not too sure if I've moved my microphone.
You're not on there.
Hello. I'm not too sure if I moved it. Yep, I can hear. Thank you so much for that, Mary, and thank you, Rach, for that deadly acknowledgement. I reckon we'll just kick it off, eh? Let's
kick it
go.
off.
So we're going to start with the panel questions. So Nikki, do you want to... I'll read this out. Can you talk about an Aboriginal First Nations woman that inspires you or has inspired you, and what makes that person a deadly community member?
Before I answer that question, I too would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and where I'm on today, and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and pay my respects to every single Aboriginal person in Ballarat and who's lived in Ballarat to pave the way to where we are today, where we've come from and what we'll talk about today. Thank you for having me, but also I want to acknowledge and say, for fuck's sakes, Sissy Austin, what happened to you while you were walking on the street, absolutely monstrous and horrible thing. No woman should be able to, every woman should be able to walk wherever they run, walk or be, to do that safe without violence. Thank you for organising this and thank you for being here today.
Thanks so much.
I also want to acknowledge to everybody in the room, every woman in this room who has suffered the hands of violence from men, other women, from anybody. I just want you to know that you are heard. I hear you, I see you, and I feel you all. So thank you. Everyone here in their own way is inspirational to me. You're inspirational to me for being here and turning up and being in this space. But more importantly, for me, the woman who inspires me and is my inspiration is my beautiful, strong, staunch mother, who I lost December 30th. This is who inspires me every day and who sort of pushes me out of bed now every day since her passing to get up and to speak, to show up, to turn up and do the work that I do. She inspires me just for being my mum. In saying that, and I will just get to where I am, and oh God, Catherine King, why is she coming up on my... I don't know. Anyway, sorry, distracted. She needs to just get out of my screen for a minute. But anyway, sorry, and this is just me, so I'll randomly go off track. And don't be offended if I say the fuck or whatever word, because you know what, we are all adults in here and we respect that sometimes when we need to... Sorry, Samara.
She hears it every day.
Is that all right? I'm not going to say it anymore. I'm just sort of just being that wake-up call to me. But
That's her first word.
absolutely, Rach just said her first word was F, so don't feel so bad. But absolutely, first and foremost, the answer to that question, who inspires me and why? Because we said my mum is. I am who I am today because of her. I am stronger and resilient because of her. And I have many Aboriginal women in my life who inspire me every day. For those women in the room who I think should be up here, sitting right beside me, or there's not enough room on this table for you all out here, inspire me every day. And you do that silently. So you are the silent and deadly women who inspire me every day. But that's just not our Aboriginal women. It's all our non-Aboriginal allies in the room who, walk beside us every day. So for me, I'm blessed and lucky to be inspired by strong women from across Ballarat, from all around, who inspire me.
Thanks so much, Nikki. That was beautiful. Thank you. Nice way to kick it off. Thanks, Nikki.
I know, the Nikki Show. She's our speaker now. Are we all going by the same question? Yeah. So I had a similar answer. I can't pin mine down to one particular woman because all of the women in my life and in my circle are just amazing. And they inspire me. My daughter especially. I have one daughter, Keisha, who is 7. She drives me crazy. but she's definitely my biggest supporter, as I am hers. And, as I said, all of the women in my life, they all play a role. All my aunties, all the people that
are in Ballarat that have become my family. That's everyone who inspires me.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, Ash. And how about you, Nikki?
Yeah.
The other two Nikkis we've got
Yeah.
today? Yeah.
I'm very lucky to have an amazing family. My grandma turned 100 last December, which is really amazing.
What an achievement.
Yeah. So her name's Yorta Clark. So a massive standout for all of us women in our family, someone to look up to. She was born in Kingston, South Australia, and met my grandpa, and they ended up working on the railway, so they opened the gates, so they travelled around a lot, ended up in Creswick, and that's where we grew. But yeah, she's gone through a lot. She was in an abusive marriage. She's had to go through losing children and grandchildren as well, and I think for all of us young ones to be able to watch her continue to have a bigger smile on her face, it's amazing, and I think that's help us go through the years and try and continue to be strong and help others around us as well. Yeah.
No, that's good. Thanks. Thank you.
I just also want to put a big shout out there to Sissy, because don't shame, I see you there. Finally, I thought when you called me that day and I said, I'll burn the house down. Yeah, there was a smoking, that's right. Finally, somebody put us on the map for International Women's Day, because we've never been included before. So thanks to you guys for stepping up and showing up. People like Sissy, she may be younger to me, but she inspires me, and she's so deadly. So don't get shamed. So I just thought I'd put that in there. So as you guys, ladies, women, have grown up in this town, I was just wondering, what have you seen different changes in the town, or what did you have to face when you were in high school?
For me, and I talk about it, and it's the visual things, right? So I did cop a bit of racism at school, but lucky for me, I had older siblings who would take care of that, and that would be, beating people up and say, Chucky, remember that at school? Yeah. Anyway, we used to walk, so we lived in Doveton Street, and we used to walk to Crockers to catch the bus to school. And over the road, we could have eyesight of the town hall. Right. So when I think about that, it was just eye the town hall. One day I just said, I'm going to work in that place one day. I don't know why I was thinking, but at that age, but I was going to work there. But, they didn't fly the Aboriginal flag in the day. It didn't fly the Aboriginal flags. Probably didn't employ Aboriginal people. But today, they do. They fly the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flag and employ Aboriginal people. I've seen that change. Our schools, today, they would never fly the Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander flags. They didn't teach Aboriginal culture respectfully. They didn't tell the truth in schools or education. I see that now, that they do. They drive around and see Aboriginal flags, Torres Strait Islander flags flying high at schools. I hear that schools are teaching Aboriginal culture respectfully, with honesty, but if they can't, they bring people in. Our workforce, within the Department of Ed, is increased from one Aboriginal educator many years ago to now having so many Aboriginal, an increased workforce that support and help Aboriginal kids in school to do better, and something just moved, I don't know what that was. To our hospitals, back when we left school, we didn't have Aboriginal hospital liaison officers. We had one in the day sort of after, but we have 5 Aboriginal liaison officers, to support Aboriginal people going through the healthcare system at Ballarat Health Services. So, when I'm talking, I see a real journey, Rach. I see a real journey that, where we are, we've been on this journey. Our courts, are improved, and we have support people within our court, Aboriginal people. We have, Vic Pole has changed. We have Aboriginal police. women and men in our police force. You know, that might have been, I know Merv Atkinson back in the day, bless him, I used to say, I'm going to be a policeman. He goes, you're too short to be a policeman. And, you know, but, you know, we do have the supports. That has improved, but we've still got a long way to go. You know, as long as we're on that journey and we continue on that journey, we've got a long way to go.
Yeah. And I think that I'll follow on from that because my response is not so great. I want to talk about my children who were called abos at school, and all kudos to the school. They addressed it immediately and took action. But it's those conversations around the dinner table, hey, of a night time that kids are hearing their parents. And all I can say to that is, you know, we're in 2023. There is no excuse where you cannot educate yourself. We have so much access to internet and, you know, education forums, everything at our fingertips. And I think it's now more than ever, Aboriginal people are so willing to have a conversation with you and educate, so to speak. It does get tiring, I will say that. It does take a toll. And I know that instance with my children, that really was painful for me because they're 10 and 7, and I didn't think that would be a conversation I'd have to have so early, but it was. And how do you tell your children what that means and you know, where it comes from and why it happens? Definitely caught me off guard while we were waiting for our fish and chips. But you face it, don't you? And you deal with it, and you have to have those tough conversations with your children. So I just encourage everybody, if there's any like I always say, I can't speak for everyone else, but I always say I'm really, really open. If you have any questions, come and talk to me, because I'd rather educate somebody about any sort of question, query, stereotype that they have about us, rather than let it simmer away and you know, the dinner table conversations happen and children grow up with, you know, a misconception in their head and then, you know, take it out on other kids in the school ground.
I think I've worked in Ballarat with the youth for over 6 years, and then at the end of last year we had an incident with 4 of our young females. They were all going shopping together to Target, and they were just buying fairy wings because they were going to Sovereign Hill the next day, and they wanted to dress up as young girls do when they're good friends. And they had an incident where, you know, they were sitting down, they were just hanging out, they weren't being loud, they weren't being disruptive, and a Target worker was kind of hovering around them. Eventually asked them to leave and said that you need to get out, followed them out, and once the girls left the store, then they were on the radio going, you need to do security checks on the cameras. And I mean, you know, these are 4 teenage girls, and it could have just been that they were teenage girls, but for them, they come back and they felt that disrespect, and they felt that it's because we're Aboriginal. They shouldn't have to feel like that. You know, they're teenage girls going shopping, and they weren't being disruptive, and they weren't doing anything wrong. They're not stealers. You know, Target might have that, but I think, you know, we've got to assess every situation differently. You can't just put a whole group of teenagers in one category going, this is what they're doing, because, you know, they've come back and they made to feel shame about themselves and who they are, and it's just, it's absolutely disgusting. And then that put us onto our workers on how do we support them, how do we give them tips into these kind of circumstances. If it happens again, what can they do to protect themselves? So it was amazing. We had Mel Peters and Uncle Peter Lovett come into our youth group and have a talk to the kids, because it unfortunately is something that's going to keep happening. And it's our job to be able to give these young ones tips on how to approach it and feel safe when they do go shopping, and they might not have a parent, because I mean, you know, it's a free world. They're allowed to go shopping, and they're allowed to hang out in groups with their friends and be in shops looking around.
It's really crap though that we have to have that conversation.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about it. Like, do non-Aboriginal families have to have these
this,
conversations? Like,
That's
I really
right.
want to know that.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I was just thinking about, I was at Kmart last night, and there was a bunch of girls all in the shopping, you know, and they were making a bit of noise.
Yeah.
Nobody blinked an eye.
That's
there was
it, yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
So, you know, the differences are just so
It is,
tangible.
isn't it?
Aren't they?
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'll go for the next one, shall I, Rach? Yep. I'll take my glasses off so I can read it. Are there enough culturally safe workplaces in this region, do you reckon? And if no, what are the barriers? If no, what are the barriers that you have faced? Do you want to lead with it, Ash?
Yeah, well, my big mouth started that. Well, yeah, like I said, I haven't worked at all of them, so I don't know. I can't speak for all of them, but I can definitely say the Magistrates Court has been absolutely wonderful. Where I am in an unidentified role. So there is a level of responsibility on me to ensure that the workplace is culturally safe. Actually, it's quite a lot of responsibility, to be honest. And as I said before, you can kind of go back to what I said earlier about, it gets tiring sometimes to always be educating, but we push on. However, what did I have written down for this? There was a time over a couple of jobs ago that I have been questioned, I have been accused, all without factual evidence. And when I pushed back on these claims and pointed out that other people on my same level, other people in similar roles, they didn't get the same response as I did. They didn't get the questioning or the accusations. And when you put that, is this racism, is it discrimination? They're kind of like, oh, no. But what other answer is there? Yeah. What other possibility is it? Yeah. It's tough. As Aboriginal women, though, you expect it. You almost have to feel comfortable with it because it's something that you go through throughout your life. Like we said, you could journey this on from kids at a young age in Target, and they're learning from that age on how to deal with things like this. And it keeps going. Sometimes you get to a point where you flip your crap, and then you're just the angry black woman. Yeah, that's the stereotype of the angry black woman. Oh, but can you see why? It starts at a young age, man, that you have to really put up with things that you shouldn't need to at a young age. But we do. We have. And we will continue doing that because society hasn't changed all that much in terms of stereotypes and whatnot.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? What about you, Nikki? What do you reckon?
Oh, God, which
Nikki?
Nikki?
I know. We'll go to that Nikki then.
Just call me Dale, it's easier. I think, where I work now, and if anyone's here from Ballarat, I'm not bagging you out, I promise. We've got lots of different teams, and we often move teams quite often. So I've had numerous managers while working there. And I think, managers that, if you're having supervisions and stuff like that, make your employees feel comfortable. I know one instance I'm a fidgeter, you'll see me moving around, I can't sit still. And I had one manager go, can you just sit still and yell at me because I was moving around, and I was like, if I'm not comfortable in here, I'm going to move around, like that, and I was a bit shocked. I was like, you're my manager and you're having a go at me for just, moving. So instantly I was like, don't feel comfortable. I don't like coming to you for supervisions, sort of thing like that. And then, other circumstances where you're trying to create programs for young ones, and then you're told this isn't your job. It's like, well, it is. If I can get my clients into those jobs, then it is my job. And then constantly being told you're not doing your job. And I was like, well, how am I not being, doing my job? I'm seeing my clients, I'm getting into programs to, meet other Indigenous kids out there and things like that. So I think that's, what I've struggled with previous. But now I'm in a team that's very, very supportive, and you can actually see that, and I might not have realised that those weren't, culturally safe for me in other teams until I've come to a team that's so supportive and respects the ideas that I have and things like that, which is really cool. Yeah,
that's really good. That's great to hear, Nikki.
Yeah.
And Nikki, you reflected on it before when you were saying, you were looking across at the town hall years ago as a kid from the bus stop. So have you found, like, what have you found in your journey of work around?
Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to think that, there are a lot of places out there who provide a culturally safe work environment. I've just got, if I'm honest, there's a lot of people out there who think that they have culturally safe work environments, right? And what that looks like, simply because they've done cultural awareness training. Because you've done cultural awareness training doesn't mean that your workplace is a culturally safe environment to work in. There's so much more. Or tick a box. Oh yeah, we fly the flag. Yeah, we tick the box. We're culturally safe and we do cultural awareness training. Tick, tick. We employ Aboriginal people. Tick, tick. That's 3 ticks, right?
Yeah.
So we can just go along and tick the boxes. But you know what? With cultural awareness training, you do cultural awareness. It sort of kind of makes you aware. But there's so much before that, right? There's cultural, what does culturally safety look like? What does it feel like? But, people need to check in the workplaces their unconscious bias, before they can even do cultural awareness. Because there's a big difference between cultural safety, cultural awareness and cultural bias. And I'm not here today to tell you what each of those really, really mean. And I would like to put it out there for you've got to go out and have a look, because culturally safe, for me, to be in a culturally safe work environment, is that I can turn up. I can turn up to work, walk in that door feeling strong, feeling valued. Not just me, but my culture is valued, and that, people are prepared to listen and learn and take advice and say, how we can do it. But you know what? But I can say, I want to be able to say, I don't feel culturally safe, but I want someone in my workplace to say, what can we do? What can we do better?
Yeah.
Simple. It's that simple. What can we do to improve our workplace?
Yeah, that's so true, eh? Thank you, Nikki.
Makes sense. Next question we have, International Women's Day was born out of mostly white women advocating for a change for themselves, for their work conditions, burning bras. No.
You got to wear them, right?
Take mine off any day. So what still needs to change in organisations and workplaces for Aboriginal women to thrive and feel supported? Anyone?
You going?
Yeah.
You want to go?
Nikki, go.
Yeah. I think for me personally, just having that trust in your workers and in their ideas, and we're working with community, so we know what they need, and we shouldn't be questioned. I guess, I felt like I've been questioned a lot in some of my programs that I try to get going, and that's. And I don't know. I don't know if the same issue is happening for men in the workforce in teams that I've been in. But I just feel like I wish I would have that more trust in what I want to bring forward, and that's coming from just working with the kids and thinking and they're telling me what they want and what they want to do and stuff like that. So for me personally, I just wish I had more trust in my abilities to be able to bring those things forward.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go? I'd like to talk about the responsibilities that Aboriginal people have in terms of all of the committees that we sit on, all of the events we're asked to attend and whatnot. And all my First Nations ladies in the room today will know how many committees there are. Lots. And it's great that people want our voices at the table and want, us there. And we do that. We continue to stand up and show up. all of these committees, for example, are during work hours though, and they're voluntary. How do you get to these things without having a flexible workplace? If you're lucky, you would have one. I'm very lucky to have a flexible work and manager who understands that it's a lot for women. It's even more for Aboriginal women to do what we do and to attend all of the meetings that we're asked to attend, to sit on all the committees that we're asked to sit on, and have a level of responsibility for that. And it's all voluntary, every single one of them. It's huge. And I'm really lucky to have a workplace that supports all of that. And in turn, I'm willing to give 1,000% for my work. And anyone who knows me knows how passionate I am about that. Is that the question? I felt like I went off on a tangent.
And I remember covering your first maternity leave years ago, actually. And I know how hard you worked. So, went into your, it was amazing. Yeah. Stepping into your shoes while you're on maternity leave for a few months.
Yeah, and that in itself, having kids is
exactly.
It's the hardest job.
Don't get me started.
I'm at the point where I'm just like pulling my hair out at the moment. I just need to get that out there. Like, I need to debrief.
Go for gold.
Let's listen. Far out. Like, I don't know if hormones are hitting my child or something, but man, it's tough at my house at the moment. Anyway, all good. I'm fine.
Someone say it only lasts for a little while, right? Because I know, I can't even remember. I think, I don't know. What have I got? How old's mine? 20. Oh, God. Sorry, 20. Anyway.
I got 10 years.
It's all right. It gets good.
Thank you.
That's good. It's all right. And that's what you need, right? That's what you just need. Someone to say,
it's all right.
It's all right.
It's all right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you're a strong, deadly mum, raising a strong, deadly
Thank you.
young woman.
Yeah. It's the boy that's...
That's the boy. Well, that's another story.
He used to be my baby. Now he's just slamming doors on me. Yeah.
Slamming doors. Oh, God. International Women's Day was born out of mostly white women advocating for change to women's working conditions. What still needs to change in organisations and workplace for First Nations women to thrive and to be supported and to be be our deadly selves, right? When did they start advocating for rights? We are born, we as Aboriginal people, women and men, we're born advocating. From the inside, the day we are born, we're advocating for our rights. As soon as Aboriginal women start, and I'll go back to what Ash said earlier, because it's really funny, because as soon as Aboriginal women start advocating for change and better work conditions, we are so often labelled the angry black woman. That needs to change. The role of, I'm just lost because I thought that was a really good question. That needs to change. The language, for starters, needs to change. The word activism needs to change. I sit here because of people who, and women and men, women, but I sit here because of strong women who, because of their activism. That's fine, but there's been a sense of change around. So when we start talking about advocacy, activism, and we need this, we need change, non-Aboriginal people get a bit funny and just go, oh, here they go again. Why can't they just be happy? Why can't they just, they've got the job, oh, they've got this, we give them a pay rise, why can't they just be happy? And so when we keep hearing that and when we continue to hear that, our voices become quiet. We're not advocating. We're just going to be sitting pleased, happy with the rations that we get given, right? So we need to change it. So we're not activists. If we change the language to please everybody, we're not activists. And to change with, the language needs to change to, from everybody. Hell yeah, God, they deserve it. I want to stand beside them. I want to stand up and speak with them. I want to support Aboriginal women to do better. I know I'm talking to a room full of, allies who already got it and get it. But, we've got to change the language in what we use. And our allies in the space need to say, hang on, put your white fragility, put your white, what did you say earlier, privilege away, and realise that when we show up, we as Aboriginal people show up, we're putting ourselves out in a space, where we feel already we're not safe. I talk about the imposter syndrome within. Right? I talk about, walking into our workplaces. I worked for Department of Ed, walking up those stairs. There was a point when I'd open the door and I'd beg internally to say, don't be that imposter syndrome. I belong here. I deserve to walk through this door. Yeah. It takes a lot. Or when I worked at the town hall many years back where I said, I'm going to work in that place one day, I still would show up and turn up with this, the imposter syndrome that I don't belong. And we as Aboriginal women carry that. So not only do we got to work in a space, that has a lot of non-Aboriginal people, and this is like, it could be like a government places, because that's all I can speak of our government agencies. Where we walk in, there's, more non-Aboriginal people, more non-Aboriginal people that work in those places. But when I walk in, I walk in as an Aboriginal. I want to say I walk in as a proud Aboriginal person, but sometimes there's this point that I walk in and that you lose that, right? You sort of revert, you go, what is it? Regress, or go back into yourself because, you don't belong in here. You don't hold equal power to everybody else that walks around in that space.
Doubt yourself.
Doubt, self-doubt and all that creeps in. So, we've got a long way to go. So that goes back to that cultural safety, cultural workplaces. So when the question is asked about advocating for change, we walk into a place, as Aboriginal women, walk into a place as, advocating for all of Aboriginal women. We walk in and we speak and we want to do better. We want other Aboriginal people to come in and work in those places and feel that they are welcomed and that they belong. I don't know, but my simple, the simple answer to that is, just saying, change the language. Change the language to, when we say activism, because there's that activism when we say that, oh, here they go again, oh, it's crazy black women at it again. Stir in trouble. But it is just saying, you know what, we want what is, what we want for everybody, the equality, what everybody else has. So I just think, great that, non-Aboriginal women have found their voices, and it allows us to find our voice because it puts us up there too, but we'll sort of somehow always be following along with people. So I won't keep going because there's this passion that comes out when we talk about this. And we, as all women, in particular a strong Aboriginal women in the room and us up here in the panel, sort of just need to really somehow beat the living shit out of that imposter syndrome that keeps us in fear. But, we thank our allies in the room and who are out there doing the work that we need to do because, as Ash said, we get tired. We get very tired. And we're always, we have more loss in communities than anybody. We're always grieving. We are grieving constantly. If we said the flag, if you notice at Ballarat, as soon as it comes down, it's down for a day and it's, it goes up for a day and then it's down.
And that's been a lot this year.
And it's been a lot this year and it's been a lot over the years. So, we carry a lot. We have this invisible backpack. It is bloody heavy. And you want to hand it over. We want to take something out of our bag and just say, here, take this. Help me walk with me, walk beside me, to help us, to help me do what we need to do. We can't do that by ourselves. So we need all the strong allies, women who are out there in this room, to go out and advocate and speak for us. Not speak for us, but you know what? Call it out. Call it out and have the conversation. Call it out. Just like, conversations, we've got the, and I'm going to go off track here, just if you give me, if you please, for one moment. We talk about, the referendum, the votes, and going up and saying, there's not all Aboriginal people, agree with that. I certainly do, and I say that for me, to go out. But if you don't know what you're going to be voting for, or you don't understand it, go out and find it. Be on the good side of history, right? Because you know what, I'd say the 67 yes vote did not impact any way non-Aboriginal people. The Mabo decision did not impact any non-Aboriginal people. The national apology by Kevin Rudd did not impact non-Aboriginal people, right? All of those impacted and affected us as Aboriginal people. But this yes vote does not impact non-Aboriginal people. It brings you together to continue on the journey that we talked about earlier. So I'm not here to say this is what we're doing, but if you are out there yarning with, you're sitting at the dinner tables and yarning with your colleagues at work about the yes vote, you know what? If you don't know about it, then become informed. Know what you're going to say yes about. Understand why you're going to say no, So I think that I'll finish on that.
Oh, thanks, Nikki. No, that was, thank you, Nikki. That covered heaps. Thank you, guys, all of you. That was great. Thank you.
Did we get 2 years on?
Did we get Nikki?
Yeah,
we
I'll
did.
just
We
start.
started.
Nikki took over now.
And
As we do, we go over time. We talk a lot.
Yeah.
So we've gone over time a little bit, but we want to.
It's still okay, this is?
Is it still okay
Yeah, still
for us to go
okay.
over?
Yep.
Yeah. I
Sweet.
just want to open it up and see if anybody's got any questions for these women up here.
None? Okay, cool.
Yeah. We didn't prepare for any questions. This one at the back. Just
I know, it's really
There's a
hard.
hand up the
Yeah,
back.
go for it.
What can the allies
What can
do?
allies
Just
do?
do better, right?
I don't know how to word that exactly, but I want to give a little example of something that happened to me a little while ago where, again, the committees that we sit on and whatnot. One where I was on and had been for a while, and I gave my thoughts and opinions, as I do, and suggested something that I thought was really deadly. And it was shut down. A few minutes later, and I'm in the same meeting, someone else says exactly the same thing, and they're like, yes, let's do it.
That
What?
happens so often. Yeah.
I think in instances like that is a good example of where you could call something out, because it's, if I do, I run that risk of being just an angry black woman, and then, and if, it's just, and like I said, it's tiring, because it's not a one-off. It has never been a one-off. It's never going to be a one-off. So things like that, I would really appreciate.
Yeah, I think just being open with having discussions as well, and it might not be something that you believe 100%, but it's us telling our stories or any community members telling their stories, and I think being okay with that's their story, and it might not be great, and it could be it could make you feel uncomfortable, but you've got to remember that we've had to live with that uncomfortable feeling our whole lives, and just being okay to be able to take that and listen and move forward with those kind of stories as well.
Yeah.
And understanding the difference with things like, NAIDOC week coming up, where are the black people
Yeah.
in the organisation? Like, do you want to do something?
Yeah, connect all year round. Like, you know, it doesn't have to
Connect
be
all
in
year
those,
round.
it doesn't
And
have
I
to be in
mean,
those
by all
moments.
means, you know, discuss with us any ideas you may have, but maybe NAIDOC's not the best example, but those significant dates that we all have in the calendar, understand the difference between, you know, asking advice and expecting the black people to run it in the organisation. There's been so many instances of that we've dealt with over the years, where it's not really my job. Just because I am Aboriginal doesn't mean it's my job to organise a sorry day luncheon or whatnot.
That's right.
You know, it's just not how it is. Be an ally and take it upon yourself to organise something. Use your initiative and think, yeah, I'm going to do something, I'm going to ask advice, and then I'm going to go from there. Like, I'm going to take the load off. Also appreciated.
Yeah.
Can I probably do, sorry, Mel, I'll just say, your question, I don't know, what's your name? Narelle. That's a really good question, and I just think, you know what's been happening lately, in the last few years, around Jan 26, right? Could not even do social media at Jan 26, right? And it just breaks you, it just breaks us, and we're just, you know. And what our allies have been doing, and it's been really great, is social media gets real shit, and it's a real shit time. But it's like commenting back. It's not getting into the warrior, the keyboard warrior, but it's just like when there's comments. That's simple, that's, you know, that's something small that makes a difference, and you can see that. We see that and go, oh yeah, deadly comments and stuff like that. But, you know, just like that, but calling people out.
Yeah.
Calling people out.
I stay off social media from
Yeah.
most of January.
100%.
I try to.
Yeah. It's a hard
Jan
time.
20 onwards, it's like, nah.
It's too draining.
It's a hard time of year. It's a
yeah.
horrible
It's
month.
depressing.
It is.
Like,
yeah.
it really
Because
impacts
you
my
do
mental health.
And you feel like, you know, we're getting so far, and then you read the comments, you're
And it's
like,
like,
we haven't moved anywhere.
my kids are growing up with this.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the
And-
thing, where our young people are seeing it and being exposed to it. And
Yeah.
it's pretty crap.
So that's what I wanted to ask. Obviously, you know, you're all worldly now. You've got, you know, I suppose hindsight behind you. What would you tell your 10-year-old self how to get through the next 30, 40 years as a strong Aboriginal woman?
Great question. Good. Yeah.
Definitely rely and reach out for supports. All the Aboriginal women around me and in my circle, although I don't take the support as often as I should, and I acknowledge that, and I'm sorry, I know it's there. I do. And just knowing that I've got these people that, you know, I know will come around and pick me up if I need it, not literally, like mentally, then yeah, I think that's, to rely on that.
And I think having the knowledge as well, like, I think knowledge is power. And I watch my cousin Faye Clark and what she says, and she, you know, she will see something on Facebook and she just has this amazing response that just shuts them down. I'm like, that is amazing. Like, and I think she's just got so much knowledge behind her that, and I think that was what I encourage, you know, all our young people, is just have that knowledge, and, you know, you can shut someone down so quickly with that, and that's our power, I think. Yeah.
I just think of, like, when I was 10 years old, I think, back, well, it's not that long ago, but it was very serious. It is that, you know, that support, cultural, you know, culture brings strength. When you are culturally proud, you're strong. So a lot of those other little, you know, those racist remarks that come to you, it's sort of like, you know what, that's so, that, you know, that doesn't bother. It's water off a duck's back sometimes. And that's what we want our 10-year-old self to know, that, you know what, strong in culture, when you're strong in culture, you know, you're rich, right? When you're strong in culture, you're so rich and you're privileged. That's right. So, you know, it's my 10-year-old self, you know, continue to, you know, be strong, surround yourself, participate and show up in activities, because there's so much activities that happen within our community, that immerse yourself in culture and be a part of it. And that's what I had the privilege of doing growing up in this community, and just, you know, so many strong Aboriginal people around me that, you know, I still have with me today. So it is, you know, when you're culturally strong, you are rich.
Beautiful.
Any more questions? Yeah, go for it.
Hey, Deborah and Chicks. There's two sayings amongst the white mob, and one of them is preaching to the converted. So when we attend amazing events like this, and so often in the room there's women, allies, men who are on board, and this for me converted, and I come along to an event like this and I get a boost, and I get an injection into being a better ally if and when I can. And there's another saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Do you think, for the people outside the room that don't necessarily have the compassion or the understanding or the awareness, do you think old dogs can learn new tricks? Can they be converted, or do we just need, sometimes I just think we need to focus on the young people. Can those unconverted come across to the conversation? Do you have an opinion or an objective
We've got to believe
idea?
that there is, right?
Yeah.
We've got to believe that they can be converted, because this is like, if we've got a preppy going to school, we've got to believe that they're going to go through school and they're going to complete year 12. If we don't believe that, then why do, you know, and I used to say that when I worked in the education, if a preppy starts school and they don't, and I've got to believe that we're going to get them through to year 12, right? Because if I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be working in that space. I wouldn't be sitting up here today if I didn't believe that we can somehow touch a small part of someone's being to convert, just that little bit. We've got to believe that, or else, you know, what are we leaving for our young people? Why are we telling our young people to stand up and be strong and show up? Because if we don't believe that we can convert the outside world out there, then what are we doing, and what are we teaching our kids if we don't believe that?
Exactly.
Touch on that. I don't think it's the all of the teaching the younger ones. I think it's the younger ones teaching the elders.
Yeah.
Children are born not knowing about racism, and when you were talking about being 10 wanting to change, I didn't even know I was Indigenous then. And I used to ride my bike on the veranda with my cousin who was dark skinned. And I grew up with racism in uni, and I used to tell my resident there, I've got my cousin coming, he's Aboriginal, and they're like, oh yeah, whatever. And when he walked in the door, you should see their mouth drop, because he's dark chocolate. And that's why I just wanted to touch on, I think there's children that are teaching elders and the older generation about racism and about, you know, have a cup of tea, it doesn't matter whether you're Agni or whatever, we're still Aboriginal.
That's where I don't like the saying, children should be seen and not heard. Children speak the truth. They have no filter.
That's right.
They will tell you
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Can I just touch on that too before we move on? I think that, yes, like Nikki said, we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be working our butts off if we didn't think that those old sticklers who have really old views and stereotypical assumptions about Aboriginal people, we wouldn't be doing what we do if we didn't think that those people could change their views. I think this is where allies come in. A lot of the time, people that are so rock solid in that assumption and their belief on what Aboriginal people are and what we do, they don't like to hear things from us because, you know what I mean? Like, they just don't. I've always found that if you can influence the influencers, so to speak, if allies could take care of him or her that have those really old views, they're more likely to hear it from that person who's not Aboriginal. And that's another way that allies can work with us and help us, because, yeah, I think that's a really, really good example.
Deadly. Hear that, Narelle?
You know what I was thinking?
Yeah. I think I'm still stuck on that whole Jan 26 thing where I stay off social media and I don't even watch the news anymore. Everyone remember that time when they had the all-white panellists on Stolen Generation?
Yeah.
Ever since then I was like, I
Yeah.
can't do the news. It's hurtful. It's impacting my mental health and I need to take steps to protect myself. So I stopped watching the news from that point on. And it's the same with the internet. I don't go on Facebook or read comments under articles because they're hurtful. And to know that those hurtful comments are coming from people that are in a society that my kids are growing up in is scary. And that is where I would like the allies to come in and help in that area, because, you know, social media is huge at the moment and it's going to only get bigger.
And I think when we see those comments, they're, most of the time they're coming from old white men, and you really think about it, you look at it, what experience have they had with Aboriginal people on the ground, coming to open events and things like that, that they've got no idea what they're talking about. They're sitting at home bored and, they're just saying it to say it, to feel important. So I think for me, I'm just like, they don't matter, they've got nothing on us. We've got the experience, we've got the community behind us, and I think that's what's important for us as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, everyone. Well, the food's arrived by the look of it now. And yeah, we've got Deb going to play for us. And Marianne, you're going to say something quickly? And I was going to hand out some gifts to these strong, deadly black women who've come today. Thank you so much for coming. Here you go, Rach. Thank you.
What about parking tickets? Is there anybody you want to put around the hat? Because, not asking for
I got
it.
the parking hat.
They wouldn't take my money, wouldn't take my card.
Thank you, Don. That was wonderful.
Oh,
Thanks, Ashley.
thank you.
Thanks
That was
so
too
much.
deadly. Thank you, darling. And thank you, Nikki. Oh, you've got one? Yep. And you've got an extra bit there.
Oh, good, that's all right.
Here, I'll give that back for Deb. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Nikki.
so much.
Appreciate
Thank
it
you.
so much, darling.
Look, that was amazing. I think you would all join me in saying such a heartfelt thanks to these amazing women for this conversation. I think I've really taken on board, we really take on board, this is not just, a once a year, thing, that these are yarns that we want to continue to facilitate, to enable happening. And I know that's one of the things we're really excited about with having, in particular, our First Nations team at Women's Health Grampians. We are, behind and beside them in enabling more of these opportunities to really learn and take on board. And I mean, I've just learned so much from you this morning. Really appreciate your honesty, vulnerability, and what you have shared. I do want to introduce Deb Clark in a second. I also think, first of all, I also wanted to acknowledge this beautiful banner, as you'll see in front, which just works so well. Thank you, Sissy. I know that that's something that you have put your work into, and it's amazing. So, well done. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, Lyndel's just talking about trying to get a photo at the end, which would be terrific. We've also got spot prizes. Sorry, I can't see, so I have to keep putting my glasses on. So we also have 3 giveaways for audience members to say thank you for coming and showing your support. And these are under your chair, I believe. Is that right, Lyndel? Are they underneath the chair? So if nobody's going to mind if you start groping around. We'll know why if that happens. But yeah, and we're not going to present them because it's just a wee bit clunky, but yeah, if you want to have a feel and yeah. Somebody has found one. That's great. So congratulations to whoever locates those. It now is my great pleasure to introduce Deborah Lowah Clark, proud Meriam. Now, excuse me, Deb, I meant to check with you before.
Like the dictionary, yes.
Yeah.
Probably Miriam.
Meriam.
Roll your R.
Beautiful. Thank you. Torres Strait Islander woman and an incredible vocal performer. So Deb is going to sing for us now, and then we will go into lunch after that. And before Deb starts, I just wanted to make a few thank yous so that it's not too coming and going to the microphone. I wanted to thank Brett and Rex and the team from Trades Hall for providing this space free of charge with their generosity and the backup that's gone along with it. It's tremendous. And as you'll see, they're recording at the back. If anybody has any concerns about that, could you please let myself or anyone else know from Women's Health Grampians or from Trades Hall, and we will ensure that any concerns will be definitely taken on board. But it does enable us to share these wonderful pieces of wisdom and knowledge and yarns more broadly and ongoing. And also we're delighted that A Pot of Courage has provided the catering for today. Sadly, we know that this wonderful enterprise is going to close in a couple of weeks, but we really hope there'll be new opportunities will spring from that. So thank you all once again, and I'll give, what do they say? Run it away, Deb, or, sorry, that wasn't, take it away, Deb. God.
Take it away.
Thank you.
Funny. Hey, thanks for having me along to this space with some deadly people. Apparently, people are going to be allowed to get up and walk around. I'm like, what? Who would want to do that while I was singing? Like, come on. Anyway, I want to acknowledge this space, Wadawurrung country, and I want to acknowledge, in the midst of sorry business, I'm reminded that I'm adopted in this space. I think Kookaburras adopt me. They adopt me, I adopt them in this space. And man, thank you to the panel. Thank you to the Grampians Health for putting this on. Thank you, Sissy and your deadly crew for doing it, because this is the conversation. It can be around your table with a cuppa, like I always say on radio, with a cuppa, with people who don't know, because when you know better, you do better, you be better. I want to pay my respects to the elders in Wadawurrung country who've been affected so much by the conversations we've had today, by the things that caused that. I've got a couple of songs on it, and you can do whatever you want, but I'll just keep singing no matter what. Can I just say, deadly to see some theys, gentlemen, and all in betweens alongside the women in this room today too. Love is my passion. Love is my friend, love's universal, love never ends. Then why am I faced with so much anger, so much pain? Why should I hide? Why should I be ashamed? Time's much too short to be living somebody else's life. I walk with dignity, I step with pride, 'cause I ain't moving from my face, from my race, from my history. I ain't moving from my love, my peaceful dove means too much to me. Loving self can be so hard, honesty can be demanding. Learn to love yourself. It's a great, great feeling. Time's too lonely without words. Future voices need to be heard. Eyebrows are always older than the beard. Mama said be brave, there's nothing to fear. Hey, no, 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 no. Nikki Foy, I ain't moving from my face, from my race, from my history. I ain't moving from my love, my peaceful dove means too much to me. Loving self can be so hard, honesty can be demanding. Learn to love yourself, oh, it's a great, great feeling. No, I ain't moving, I've been here all along. I ain't moving, 'cause I want more. Well, I ain't moving, I got my feet firmly on the ground. As far as I'm concerned, love will win the round. I hope that's not our tune. I apologise. It caught me off guard. I'm in the middle of some sorry business. And can I just say, I heard this song, I've put some language to it. I'm walking this way, and this is who I am. I change and rearrange, I always do that. God knows they did that to our lives. So, take someone's song, do something to it. Lauren Diego wrote this song, but this is for the panel, for the conversation you just had, the people that tell you what so often we're not told. And mostly country with a capital C that embraces us, sustains us, and nurtures us. I keep finding voices in my head saying I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, 'cause I need to know. Ooh, oh, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. You say I am held when I'm falling short, when I don't belong. Well, you say I'm yours. Oh, I'm walking this way. This is who I am. I said, oh, I'm walking this way. This is who I am. Only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth, in you I find identity. Ooh, oh, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I'm weak. You say I am held when I am feeling short, and when and now I'm laying it at your feet. You know everything about me, my name's written on your wings. Ooh, oh, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. You say I am held when I'm falling short, and when I don't belong, you say I am yours. I'm walking this way, Gamilaraay, this is who I am. Oh, Gamilaraay, Thank you. Old talk. Again, I mean, feel free to go and eat if you like. I will. No, maybe I'll judge you. No, I won't judge you. Again, I want to acknowledge Kristen. I knew, one of those people who works around the world singing stuff. We know who she is. But this is her first language song that she ever wrote. I hope my guitar's not a tune because I'm not. You'll cope, yeah? Kubayadaye's old talk. It's the yarning that we did today in English. It's old talk up on the islands, and I just want to acknowledge her writing of this with her auntie, and her sister sang it, and it's really well known in Islander community. So I sing it today. It's a bit about death of language too, lost. Kubayadaye, 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 Ma Kubayada, Kubayadaye, Kubayadaye. Yamnya Kaimel Inukubilnu Inukubilnu Kurusika Kaiga. This is a blessing song sung across the islands, and like many things in culture has been shared. And I don't know if you know, we often talk about people coming down and singing this song, which actually comes from the Pacific space and the Torres Straits, all the way down to Yorta Yorta. Inanekapuana, inanekapuana, ula, 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 yippee, yippee. And we get to teach that in our schools. This song is a song that's shared in schools. This is a song that tells us that kinders are doing the right thing. Yeah? They're teaching it, singing. We want them to tell the kids. This comes from the Torres Strait, just like Possession Island is a Torres Strait island where that flag first went there on August 22nd back in 1970. Nearly got that wrong, 70. Ooh. Knowledge is power. This song links our kids to their story across the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander space. Inanekapuana, inanekapuana, ula, 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 yippee, yippee. Guana, 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 gua, choo. Guana, 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 gua, choo. Inanekapuana, inanekapuana, ula. You can sing loud on that. Ula, 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 yippee, yippee. Come on now. Guana, 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 gua, choo. Guana, 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 gua, choo. Inanekapuana, inanekapuana, ula, ula, yippee, yippee. Choo! I want to thank Grampians Help for having me. Hey, if you are not an Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander person in this room, can I challenge you that when you step outside this door today, the difference that will be made will be at your dining table tonight. It'll be at your friend's tea. It'll be at their dinner, because we're already talking about it. We've been talking about it our whole lives. And our identity will never change because you have a conversation that's robust. So thank you for being here. I guess you're not the people that this message can go to, but if we can empower you, then know that we're all here to empower you, because we stand together and we stand to make a change. Because Lord knows, if I have to talk about the difference between acknowledgement of country and a welcome to country in another school, I am not going to be in this job in 12 months. So thank you, and thank you for help. I can keep playing if you want everyone to go and have. Oh, I get presents too. As it should be. Thank you so much.